Have you ever wondered why some people seem to be just having a better life experience? They seem more focused, they seem more happy, they seem more engaged, and others may be less so. Several years ago, I learned a simple principle taught by a gentleman who set out to answer that question. Why is it that some people are having a better experience than others? He's actually a University of Chicago psychologist by the name of Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi, originally from Central Europe. And several decades ago, actually more than 3 decades ago, he wanted to know, what is it that makes some people happier or more engaged and focused? Now, he didn't want to approach this from the perspective of metaphysics or religion or anything else. He wanted to get scientific about it. And so he gave pagers to people and began paging them throughout the day. And he would ask them to respond to a series of questions. And they would have to respond with a number, 1 to 10. The questions he would ask are, at this very moment, how engaged are you? Or how focused are you? How much skill is what you're doing right now requiring? And again, they would answer on a scale from 1 to 10. Now, there were several questions that he asked, and these questions and the numbers that they responded with started to create a profile. And he could map and plot that profile on a little graph. And he started to see some commonalities. He saw that the people that were focused and happy and engaged seemed to be challenging themselves and using their skill sets. And he actually plotted this on a graph where on the y-axis, he was measuring how challenged someone was. And on the x-axis, how much skill did it require for them to do this? And where the challenge actually was equal to the skill at a certain level, it actually indicated this channel that he called the flow channel. Now, why did he call it flow? He would interview people and ask them, what is it about this activity that you're doing that makes you excited or engaged? And what he found out is they oftentimes said, I just feel like in this moment I was in flow. Time distorted. There was value in what I was doing, inherent to what I was doing. I wasn't doing it for a paycheck. I was doing it because I loved it. A lot of these people were artists or athletes, and many of them were business people, but they were doing what they did out of a love, and they were challenging themselves and using their skills to their fullest. And Dr. Csikszentmihalyi named this the flow channel. And what he learned was that people are most engaged and self-actualization is most likely to occur when there's a certain amount of challenge in life married with a certain amount of skill. And if the challenge in your world dropped, but your skill level stayed the same, you might find yourself in a different situation, an actual situation where you're in control. A little bit less in this flow channel, but in control. You're still happy, you're confident. But if you really wanted to get back to this place of flow where time distorts and you're doing things that you know you can accomplish, you would have to introduce a new challenge. And lifting that challenge up would then push you back into the flow channel. Similarly, if in this particular case you had a high degree of challenge but a lower level of skill, in this particular case it might take you out of the flow channel and put you into what he referred to as arousal, an awakening. This challenge is a little more than I'm capable of doing. And that has to be met with what? An increase in skill sets that push me back into this flow channel. Now, he mapped the whole human experience beyond just flow and control and arousal, but said if the challenge is even lower, but the skill set stays the high, then it's relaxation. You might be in a position where you're saying, I can do this, I have the skills to do this, but I'm not pushing myself up. Again, in order to get back into flow, you might have to take a significant lift in your challenge. From there, even if the skill level dropped more and the challenge was low, it's boredom. At a very low skill and challenge level would be apathy or even depression. Where the challenge climbs and the skill level is low, you might be worried or stressed or sad. And then ultimately, if you have a really high challenge with very low skill set, that can trigger a sense or a feeling of anxiety. Now, the reason this mattered and the reason we wanted to teach this as part of the ASEA ethos is actually fairly simple. What it teaches us is that each individual that wants to be happy, engaged, and excited needs to remember that these conditions of happiness and optimal experience don't happen on their own. And they certainly don't happen just sitting around. Look at my dad, retired I don't know how many times. Why? Because he wasn't in flow if he was just playing golf every day. Being in flow means you're challenging yourself, you're pushing yourself, and you're finding happiness, and then the optimal experience is when you're pushing your challenge levels up and you're developing yourself into new skills. Let's summarize this second principle of the ASEA ethos, what we refer to as flow. Flow reminds us that happiness and self-actualization are most likely to occur when you're challenging yourself and when you're developing your skill set. Pushing yourself into that flow channel means constantly pushing the frontiers of challenging challenges, and skills in all areas of life.